Welcome back to Rarest Photos. Elvis gave her Desiree. She was a small town girl, just trying to survive. Married far too young, without a hope or dream inside. Great morning, or afternoon, or evening, or middle of the night. I'm not sure what time it is when you're watching it. We're back. And if you clicked on this video, it's because you're wanting to see more of the mountain of evidence for Are You Lonesome Tonight? This is the book written by Lucy DeBarbin and Derry Matera that talks about a love affair between Lucy and Elvis from 1953 until just a few days before his passing. Now, understandably, there's a lot of questions that have been asked, especially since this book came out, 40 years ago? Maybe longer? 37 years ago. Okay? So some of y'all, this is the first time y'all are hearing about it. First time you're reading it. If you have a curiosity, there's a playlist. If you click on Rarest Photos, I read the whole book. Okay? So you just have to go sort it by oldest to newest, or newest to oldest, and you watch from the first book. And then there's conversations with the author, Derry Matera. So I'm kind of catching y'all up a little bit. I've also talked with Desiree Presley, Lucy and Elvis's daughter. If you are of the mind to believe this book, and I always have to say if, because I always say, hey, I wasn't there during conception, but I want you to make your mind up. I've had my mind made up for a little bit, and even more, really even recently, before Desiree sent me these documents. I've always taken the stance that you either have to believe that Lucy is telling the truth or that Lucy is a liar. Okay? And, you know, and I just don't see Lucy being a liar. I just don't. Not reading this, not all the research I've done, not all the research Derry's done, not all the research that y'all have done. Every time somebody says it couldn't have happened because of this, well, we go take a look at this, and we prove them wrong. We prove the doubters wrong, which it's perfectly fine to be a doubter. It's perfectly fine to be a believer. But then there are also naysayers. Naysayers, people don't like hearing that term. That doesn't mean that you're a doubter. What that means is that when you're shown evidence, you go, that doesn't mean anything. So really nothing is ever going to convert the naysayers into belief, because they believe what they want to believe. The first video of this series about the mountain of evidence, we talked about the first document. And that was by Edward Whittaker. The first document that authenticated, maybe not the first in the series, like I don't know who actually had it documented first, but Edward Whittaker was the one we went over yesterday. Impressive guy, even the FBI used him. Okay? And I showed some documents there of the FBI using him. Okay? This very next person that we're going to discuss is in front of me here. So, yeah, I could have printed them off. Yeah, but I don't want to do that. I'm perfectly fine reading things off of a phone. But you're going to be obviously seeing the document on the channel here. And these are from Desiree. It's not that Derry didn't have these. Derry has copies of them. They're up in his attic. Okay, and if y'all want to fight off the scorpions to go do that kind of stuff, Derry's not 21 years old anymore, 25 or 30. Now, I'm sure he could probably do it. He gets out there, boogies and dances, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't feel like he needs to. But I did ask Desiree, hey, Desiree, send me the documents. And she did. No problem. No problem sending me the documents, because she wants y'all to believe. She wants worse than anything to have Riley or Harper or Finley actually do a DNA test with her. And I'm going to be beginning a series shortly. And I'm going to be asking all three of those, or any of those. Because you know what? I think she deserves to have vindication. You know, she fully 100% believes that she's the daughter of Elvis Presley. And you know why she believes that? Because her sisters heard Elvis call on the phone. Her stepfather, Jack Greer, said it was Elvis. And he knew that she was having an affair with Elvis, a love affair. You know, that's all she really needs to know, you know, because if not, what is she going to call her sisters and her stepfather and her mom a liar? Why would you do that? You have to believe those that loved you and nurtured you and protected you. I mean, she probably has many other reasons besides that, but if I was in her shoes, that's where I would, my belief would start at. And it's been, what, 37 years since this book came out? Lisa wasn't giving up DNA, more than probably because of Priscilla. Priscilla probably wasn't allowing it to happen. She controlled the estate for a long time, but now the estate is out of her control. But here's the deal. A lot of y'all go, well, look at this DNA, this Donna Presley Rowe, or this Donna Presley, whatever her last name is now. You could test against her, and she's supposedly posted that she'd be willing to test, but I've reached out to her and haven't got a response. So, and first off, how do I know? How do I know she's really a Presley blood? If she puts her DNA in the system, and it matches all whoever else has been in the system, which I don't know who's been in the actual DNA system. Not a family tree that you can go on Ancestry.com and claim you're a family member, but an actual DNA 123 or whatever. There's so many different little DNA organizations. First off, Desiree doesn't want to deal with a little fish like that. Okay, and Donna's been a known, from what I've heard, she doesn't believe it. I don't think Billy Smith believes it either. So why would Desiree trust either one of those? Now, I'm not saying that she shouldn't trust either one of those, or that she should trust either one of those, but put yourself in her shoes. She was denied by the estate. Except they said, hey, Lucy, you can't put your poem in it because the book because it's Elvis's intellectual property. But yet they want to deny it. So that makes it all more interesting to me, right? Should make it interesting to you as well. So I'm going to start reading this document. And in fact, before, let me just give you the name. It's Nona. It's Nona Fried, Fried. She's a certified document examiner. Okay? Nona Fried. Let's see what y'all can also look up. Document examiner. Just to show that I'm not coming in here with a bunch of predisposed opinions, okay? Professional forensic document examiner. Okay. All right. So yeah, so she's a forensic document examiner, or she was. So let's go ahead and read what she had to say. Okay, so this was November 20th, 1986. Okay, so this is before Edward Whittaker. All right, she belongs to the Graphic Analysis Polygraph Associates, GPA. Okay. Dear Mr. Matera, we have examined the material presented to us by you. It consisted of a poem purported to be in the handwriting of Elvis Presley and signed Love, L. Lancelot. Number 2, a card purported to be in the hand of Elvis Presley and signed Love, L. Lancelot. A letter to President Richard Nixon from Elvis Presley obtained from the National Archives and Record Administration, Washington, D.C. That was number 3. Number 4, a signature of Elvis Presley on page 12 of the last will and testament of Elvis Presley, dated March 3rd, 1977. Number 5, a photograph of Elvis Presley and signed Best of Luck, Elvis Presley. It is our professional opinion that the hand that penned the poem and the card as L. Lancelot is one and the same hand that penned the letter to President Nixon. Also page 12 of the last will and testament and the signed photograph of Elvis Presley, or as Elvis Presley. Sincerely, Nona Fried, CDE, Certified Document Examiner. So that's number 2 there. Number 1 was Ed Whittaker, or Edward Whittaker. Number 2 in this series, since is Nona Fried, since the biggest guy of all time is not good enough for the naysayers. Now, if you're a doubter, you're not a naysayer, okay? So please don't feel like I'm lumping you into that. That's something that Derry Matera coined, okay? The naysayers. That he gets so frustrated by the naysayers that it doesn't matter what you put in front of them. Doesn't matter. They want to argue about the littlest things that would destroy the story. When really, all we need to know at this point is that Elvis and Lucy had a love affair. And that would be documented by the poem. You don't write a poem to your lover, to somebody that you love, if you don't have a love connection with them, okay? It would be, hey, best of luck. Good to meet you, Lucy. Or, hi, Lucy, it was nice to see you at a show. Or, all my best, Elvis. This is much different, okay? This is much, much different. And that's where you have to start. The burden of proof has to be there. That's where you start with whether I believe it or don't. Now, you can go, gosh, how unlikely, or gosh, I haven't heard about that. But the truth of the matter is, if you can believe that the handwriting is of Elvis Presley, that the poem was written by Elvis Presley to Lucy, who was also known as Desiree to Elvis. That was his nickname for Lucy. And then when she got pregnant and had a child in 1958, she named that child Desiree. Desiree Romaine Presley is what she put on the birth certificate. She signed her name as Lucy Barban Presley. On the birth certificate, she put Randolph Presley because her sister's husband just came back from Randolph Air Force Base. And since Elvis wasn't there, and also she didn't want to put down Elvis because she wasn't trying to cause a scandal in Elvis's life. But she did write a letter. She did write a letter and put it in an envelope in case she died during childbirth, so that the nurse or the doctors would know whose baby it was. And in that letter that she wrote to Elvis, she said, I want you to know your daughter, basically if I die. So, that's in a sense part 2 right there. What do you think about that? So, that's part 1. What do you think about that? And for those of y'all that didn't see so that's part 2. That's the second document. And for those of y'all that did not see part 1, go look at it. It's much longer than this video. And it's much longer because I went over what the biggest naysayer of all, which was Bill E. Burke, an author who worked for the Commercial Appeal. I believe also had an interview with Elvis on the train coming home in 1960. And he wrote 13 books and made a lot of money off of Elvis. He reviewed this book and he tore it to pieces. I went to look at that review to try to figure out why he tore it to pieces, because I hadn't even heard of this guy. Yeah, sure, he wrote 13 Elvis books, but they looked like they were very low quality books that, that anybody could self-publish kind of a thing. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I really haven't looked into him enough. I probably will never look into the guy because of what I found out. In part 1 of this series about the Mountain of Evidence, I went over specifically what he said. I believe that he created the army of naysayers. For the most part, at least one of the creators of the naysayers against this book, because he stated absolute untruths. He didn't even read the book. I think he relied on somebody else that whispered in his ear, I need you to write this, I need you to write this, and I need you to write this. That somebody might be somebody that we talk about on this channel a lot, of the female persuasion, who was in charge. Might not have been. I don't know. I just don't know. It's all guesswork, right? You know what I'm saying? But who else would have convinced this guy to write absolute nonsense garbage? Who else would have said, hey, we need you to put your reputation, your lifelong reputation on the line as a journalist. And we want you to write a hit piece that's trash, that's inaccurate, that if anybody sees it in the future, it's going to disrespect you forever. That's what I put in the first video about the Mountain of Evidence. I got upset. I got angry because basically what his mission to write that was was to try to destroy Lucy, a woman. A woman who bared her soul, who didn't ask for this. She didn't come out to try to tell her story. Derry pursued her, Derry Matera, and she only did it so her daughter would know the actual full story. And it took 4 years to do. It took a couple years to get some of this information, the poem, all that other stuff. It took, because she didn't want to give it up. Because she didn't want the story out. She didn't want it to be as big as it was becoming. And, so he made it his personal mission to destroy her, destroy Desiree, an innocent, 100% innocent, no matter which side of the fence you fall on, of believers or naysayers. There's believers, doubters, naysayers. Naysayers over here, believers are over here, and doubters are in the middle. The doubters can go either way, but probably are going to head that way. They don't turn into a naysayer. A naysayer doesn't believe anything. The Lord Jesus Christ could come back and stand in front of them performing miracles, and they would ask Jesus for a DNA test, and if it didn't match God, the Almighty, then they would say, I don't believe you. That's what I feel a naysayer is. And I think that's, when Derry says that, naysayer, that's what I think he's talking about. People that are like that way. And there's people that are contrary, that argue on purpose, that do not want to believe. They want to take the contrary side so they can feel good about it. For whatever, to be on the negative. Doubters, I get zero problem with doubters. Because all doubters need is they need some evidence. They need some things to sway them towards believing that it's true or could be true. And in all honesty, that's the truth of the matter, is that the believers believe that it could be true or it is true, but the best we can do is believe it is true, right? The doubters, they need the faith, they need the evidence, even more evidence, because maybe they haven't seen it, or maybe they just need a little more conclusive evidence. So those are the first two pieces that I brought to you. Courtesy of Desiree, okay, who desperately wants to prove her birthright, prove that her daddy is Elvis, and that her daddy loved Lucy, and Lucy loved her daddy. That's all that matters to Desiree. And she's not a rich woman, and she's not a woman in power. If she was, she'd be all over social media in a big, 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 big way. Okay? That's not to say she doesn't have some people in her court that believe it and that are coming out with something. She's probably coming out with something. I can't really say it. But maybe some of the doubters will believe. And some of the naysayers will be too embarrassed to even open their mouths anymore. But probably not, because the world is full of keyboard warriors. It's the truth. Full of keyboard warriors. It's full of haters. I don't think as many as there are kind, loving people that are out there. But there's enough. And the thing is, the people that are negative shout twice as loud and make an imprint of 50 people with their cloud of dust of negativity. And if you've been affected by a naysayer, I apologize. I apologize. I try to let everybody have a voice. I did have to delete one naysayer because all he ever talked about was negativity on every video, no matter what. No matter whether it was about Lucy, no matter whether it was about Priscilla, no matter whether it was about Elvis, no matter whether it was about Kathy, it didn't matter. Negative, negative, negative. And I thought, you know what? They've had enough chances, they can go spout negativity on another channel. And then recently, there's been a Facebook page where it's become an all-out battle war. And it is what it is. I've had actually very intelligent, intellectual conversations with a person that runs that page. And I truly believe in my heart of hearts that she is really more about trying to prove Priscilla, is a fraud and tells a distruthful story, a non-truthful story about all that stuff. And I hope she gets back to that. And if she keeps wanting to talk about these videos, well, whatever. What do they say? Any publicity is good publicity. So I hope you enjoyed that, and also just know I'm having the conversation with Billy Stanley tonight, and that's going to be on the channel tomorrow. I'm looking forward to hearing some good, positive, loving stories of Elvis Presley, and I know y'all are as well. Billy speaks from his heart all the time, even when he's not on camera, and I can attest to that because I've talked to him a couple times. And then I'll be having my conversation with Derry Matera probably tomorrow. It's going to air on Saturday morning, just in time for the part 3, part 4, and part 5 that are going to be out. Tomorrow will be part 3, Friday will be part 4, and Saturday will be part 5 of these documents of evidence, the mountains of evidence that are out there. For those that are doubters, and for those that are believers. For the naysayers, it's not for you, okay? Because I don't think any naysayer, like a true naysayer, will ever believe. Like I said, that's my example. Jesus Christ could stand in front of them, performing miracles, levitating them. Not that Jesus would do that, but he could perform whatever miracles it was. He could say, "Put your hand in my side. Put your hand in my wounds, of my finger through the wounds of my hand. Touch me, I'm real." And then he could ascend into the clouds of heaven and then come back down. And the naysayer would say, "But where's your DNA test?" 100%. That should be the definition in Webster's dictionary of a naysayer. And if it does get put in there, I think I should get credit for that. And Darius should get an assist. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'm looking forward to talking to Billy and bringing more videos and continuing to read great books like My Army Days with Elvis, The Faith of Elvis, of course. It's a great book. Elvis and Kathy, which I brought to you already. And many, many, many more books. In fact, we just started reading this one. Elvis Presley, Graceland Gates by Harold Lloyd. And look what Susan Henning sent me. Sweet Susan Henning. I've always thought she's got a great, kind heart. Very sexy, of course. That's why Elvis was, one of the reasons Elvis was attracted to her. She wrote a nice little message in here. Dear Joe, sins and rare Elvis photos. Enjoy Elvis in my memories. We enjoyed making all of them. Susan Henning. So we'll be going over this book in the future as well, okay? Susan's a sweet, sweet woman who's had an accomplished life, and she's still staying busy. On the back of this book, she says, Susan is a sun-kissed California girl born in North Hollywood. Starting in show business at just 6 years old, her illustrious career spanned 6 decades. Susan's debut in runway modeling So let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you're having a great day. TCB, TLC, this is Rare Elvis Photos. Till next time.